And welcome back to a new video, my exiles. And today, something new. It's the first summoner I've ever played in Path of Exile, and I've been playing it since the release of the beta. And this time I wanted to discover if it's possible to play and to destroy the content with budget Summon Reaper. And as you can see in the footage, we just run around the map and spawning summon skeletons because they have some duration, and then for very tough enemies we use Summon Reaper, and he performs a powerful attack which applies strong bleeding and its damage over time. On another side, we have the issue that in budget version we do not have Divergent Summoned Reaper and Anomalous Summoned Skeletons. Anomalous skeletons allow them to live the first 2 seconds after they're spawned, so they can be shredded by some mobs, and therefore they can be consumed by Summon Reaper to heal itself and to empower itself. And the Divergent Summon Reaper has a 20% increased cooldown recovery, which is crucial. I thought at first time that it doesn't matter, but in real situations this 20% cooldown reduction are nuts. But overall it only affects the speed of clearing, and when we are talking about the budget version we do not count these seconds of clearing. That's why I think that wouldn't be an issue for you. And other differences are very minor, so they just are in terms of damage. And here you can see the level of tankiness that we have here, the decrease. For those who do not know, Summon Reaper is the skill that summons a Reaper minion. It's vulnerable, so it's very important to have some resistance, minion resistance modifiers and minion life modifiers, because if it has base defenses, it's very weak. And it lowers the power of other minions, but we don't care about them because Summon Reaper gives us all our damage and all our clearance. We only use Summon Skeletons with Culling Strike, some applying Maim and Feeding Frenzy support to get Feeding Frenzy for our Summon Reaper. So you can discover any other kind of Summon Reaper builds which cost dozens of divines, but this setup is only 5 divine, and I'll also link the path of building with some more upgraded version with another level of bow, and the timeless javel with amanamu gaze, and they both will grant us additional twice than damage than we have now, but in this setup we have 10 million single target bleed DPS, but it's not strong enough as the very expensive versions, because it lacks some survivability for the Reaper, and we need sometimes to resummon the Reaper, because for some tough map clearance it can get dead, and there is the only difference that we can face. So what's about the gearing? We just use 3 Flasks for the decreased amount of armor, and they are reused at the end of the effect, so we have lots of armor, as you can see. And with the Juggernaut Ascendancy, it's a very powerful defensive layer. Darkness Enthroned, 1 chaos or 2 chaos basic boots with some regen and spamming Siren Exarch and Eater of Worlds implicits cost me around 40 or 50 C. Ascendancy's Gentle Touch is very cheap now, and even with the second curse with vulnerability on hit, it cost me around 50 C. You can self-curse vulnerability also. Also uprising, it's not mandatory for the cheap setup because it costs 4 divines and it's the only expensive item in the overall character. Pride has no reservation, or Purity of Elements has no reservation, or any aura that you have here, but I think Pride is the cheapest one. Replica Maloney's mechanism to attack with Mirage Archer, Ensnaring Arrow, and Great and multiple projectiles to apply Ensnaring Arrow, and Ensnaring Arrow gives us the ability to make enemies always move, so they always get increased damage from bleeding. Basic bone rings, maybe 30 or 40 C per piece, because they do not have anything ridiculous in its stats. More expensive rings have increased attack speed and increased movement speed, but that's obviously enough even to Leaguestart, because all the gear is the basic and easily obtainable, except our uprising, but as I've said before, it's not mandatory. Some body armor with basic life regen and stats. I've spammed some Eldritch orbs for increased aura effect of Malevolence or Pride, any offensive aura that you can get, and increased effect of non-curse auras. The Devouring Diadem, Purity of Elements, Mana Reservation efficiency is, we don't need it. You can get with plus 20 to physical damage over time for Summon Reaper, but I've had this helmet from another build and I'm pretty satisfied with what I have here. And the bow, which I crafted myself, the base with fractured level of socketed gems costs 5C. Then I just spammed Essence of Fear. Let me see. Yeah, definitely Essence of Fear, and just you can use only one, then annul some and craft +2 to level of socketed support gems. You don't even need the minion have increased attack speed, and you don't need to waste currency for can up to have 3 crafted modifiers for 2 divines. I think it's more for the next step build, more expensive, which I'll also link. And the setup for Summon Reaper is Summon Reaper, Awakened minion damage, which is very cheap. Empower, just level 3, also the cheapest. You can have Empower 4 or even Awakened Empower, but we're talking about the budget version, which can also delete everything. You can see Awakened Deadly Ailments, Awakened Melee Fizz, and Awakened Swift Affliction, but I have just basic Swift Affliction, so I'm pretty done with it. And some Ghastly Eye Jewels with some chance to avoid bleeding. That's why in this character I have 100% chance to avoid bleeding. The only modifier you need is minions deal increased damage if you use the minion skill recently, and we always use a minion skill while mapping or bossing or anything you do. Some life, and if you use the Amanamu's Gaze Jewel, you need 5 Ghastly Eye Jewels to get the damage boost from it, but I don't even use it because my concept was to try if this build is worth spending very little investment on it. I have the basic Watcher's Eye with Chaos Resistance for Purity of Elements and unaffected by poison, so it's not even for the damage purposes, and that's why I'm here immune to poison, bleeding, and all the ailments. I didn't even use the stun immunity because we cannot be killed because we Juggernaut with increased life regen with armor protecting our elemental damage and some endurance charges, additional physical damage reduction. You can swap this unrelenting node for unstoppable, for stun immunity, for some more action speed and increased movement speed in tough situations, but I didn't have enough stats to cover my chaos resistance and elemental resistance. That's why I decided to go to permanent endurance charges, and which I get through Enduring Cry with Call to Arms. The tree only includes some aura modifiers, elemental resistances, armor, corrupted blood, immunity, life, and minion damage, minion regen. With brutal restraint, with Balbala to have all our flasks up. We apply the traitor, and we have the fancy 1947 Dehara, which allows us to have increased flask charges gained here, here, and here, and that's why when we press, we are always up when mapping, and after 3 uses, we just need to wait some time, maybe on bossing, when we have the uptime, when the flasks are not up, but it's a very rare case and doesn't even affect us. Minions have increased area of effect is crucial here because the clear potential rises highly with it, and this cluster is not even 12 passive skills, and it has just increased effect and some resistances and chaos resistance. I just bought it for 5C and spent alterations until I get 35% increased effect, and then wriggle it. And after that I exalt slammed it, but got evasion, unfortunately. So that's the quick overview. For link setups, we have Vitality, Determination, Flesh and Stone, Purity of Elements. In our Duar and Diadem, we also use Molten Shell, Custom Damage Taken, not to push too many buttons because we have our Enduring Cry on the movement button, Pride, Convocation, War Banner, Enduring Cry, and we once in 10 seconds use Malevolence as our Divine Blessing, and just run, summon skeletons, attack with Summon Reapers sometimes, and summon to our place with Convocation if we need, if this guy doing his dirty job stacked somewhere between the walls of some monsters. So enjoy the build. All the links are below. Really appreciate your like, subscribe, and your comment in the commentary section. See you next time. Goodbye.